So as I'm recording this video, I'm a little embarrassed. I'm a little ashamed because I didn't follow a checklist. Now, if you have been watching these videos for any length of time, you know that we love checklists. We love processes and systems. We go so far as to sell packages of checklists. You can go on our website, propertymanagementsystem.org, and buy some checklists that we use. We're the checklist king. Let me tell you what happened last time I decided I was too good to follow the checklist, and I'm a little bit ashamed to say it. So I had a property that I own. I own some of my own rental properties, and the tenant gave notice to vacate, and so I had to run the turnover because I am the property manager assigned to my own properties. I manage them. So tenant gave notice. It works its way through our system. The tenant turns in the keys to our office, and our resident services coordinator does her great job. She's following her process, and one thing on her checklist, the very last thing, is to get the full file and give it to me. And so she gets me all the stuff. Now, here's what I'm thinking. Because I got the checklist, it's right there in the folder along with all these other things. So all I had to do was open it up and follow my checklist items. But I'm Mark Cunningham. I invented checklists, folks. I mean, come on. Most of those checklists that they're following, who do you think wrote those? I wrote those. I know the checklist. I don't need to initial the checklist off because it's me. So, did I look at the checklist? No, I didn't look at the checklist. Come on, it's me. I'm too good for that. So, hopped in my car, I grabbed my papers, I drove out to the property. I get to the property, I walk up to the front door, I had the keys, I put the keys in, look around, and I realized that I forgot to bring a silly lockbox with me because we have to put a lockbox on the property so our vendors can come in and get the property cleaned up. So now I'm just mad at myself. I'm like, come on, Mark, really? Do you know how many times I have turned over a property in my life? A lot of times. How could I, of all people, forget to bring a lockbox? But I did. So I had to get back in my car, drive back across town, walk into the office, pick up a lockbox, get in my car. Wasted half an hour. I was angry. I was mad. But whatever, we all make mistakes. Let's move on. Let's move on from there. So, get the property ready to go. Everything's going great. I get the vendors in there, and then I decided I was going to sell the property a little bit later, but I get the vendors in. We're doing all of our work. And one thing that I have to do on my process is complete the security deposit return paperwork so we can pay the tenant who moved out. And they were a great tenant. They were awesome. They're going to get all their deposit back. They did a fabulous job. But I had to prepare the paperwork and give it to our accounts payable to make sure they cut a check to send to the tenant, send my awesome tenant. So we have a built-in process, and the process has some backstops to it. So what that means is if our account payable person, they know which properties have vacated. And if it triggers a certain date and they don't have the security deposit paperwork, they send out an email to the appropriate property manager and say, hey, where's your security deposit paperwork? We got to get this check sent out to the tenant. So not too terribly long ago, I got an email from accounts payable. It was a template email, but it said something like this. Dear property manager, I hate when they don't even call me by my real name. Dear property manager, you are now 3 days past due on submitting your security deposit disposition paperwork. We need that within the next 24 hours. Please get that submitted and don't let this happen again. Something like that. Because what I forgot was to do the security deposit return. Now I got that email. And I got to be honest with you, I was a little upset, not at me. I was just mad that they had the gall to remind me to do the security deposit return. Okay, I wasn't mad at them. I'm a little bit mad at everybody. But I'm thinking, by the way, I had it in the file. It was sitting right there. I just never did it. Why? Because I'm busy. I got other things going on. I forgot to do the security deposit return. Now, thank goodness we have that double check system in place where they would remind me to get the deposit done. So I submitted it. I said, I'm sorry guys, I got a little bit busy. I don't know how that slipped my mind. Sorry about that. Here you go. Thanks so much. I got it out to them and got that done. How could it have happened? So strike two. Now, don't worry, it gets worse. But before I tell you about how it gets worse, let me thank the sponsor for this video, Latchel. We're talking about maintenance here a little bit, right? You don't want to be taking these calls in the middle of the night for maintenance. I don't either. So why not have someone do that for you? They can just take the emergency calls. They can take the standard calls. They can send out vendors. They can do as little or as much as you want. Latchel.com. Talk to Jen. They are awesome. They are awesome. Everybody that uses them loves them. So when this is over, Visit Latchel.com, reach out to them, tell them that Mark sent you. They will take care of you, and they'll give you information on how you can potentially use them to solve some of your maintenance problems. Okay, where were we? I was on strike two. I decided to sell the property, right? I'd already missed my security deposit, got it done in the nick of time. I decided to sell the property, get the property ready to go. It's beautiful. Now I should be following, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, if I would have been following the checklist, it would have told me to bring a lockbox to the property. It would have also have told me to complete the security deposit return and check here when it's done and give it to accounts payable and check when you give it to accounts payable. But as I said, it's me, it's Mark. I don't need to follow those silly checklists. I wrote those silly checklists. So now I'm selling the property. We do have a sales checklist as well, but once again, come on. So I get the property up and listed. We get a lot of offers on the property. We accept an offer on the property. Everything moves pretty smooth. We get to closing. We close. I get my big check. Yay, I sold my property, made some money. I'm so excited. Everything's going great. About 3 days after that, I got an email. And the email was from my multiple list service, the local MLS service. And it said something like this. Dear agent, we've noticed that you have not changed the status of this property from under contract to sold, and you've now passed the deadline. You are hereby fined $45, which you will be assessed upon your next MLS invoice. Have a nice day. P.S. Change the status immediately. Gosh, darn it. Guys, I'm a real estate agent. I've been a realtor for over 20 years. I've sold a lot of properties. I bought a lot of properties. How could I, Mark, of all people, forget something as silly as changing the status on the MLS, especially when it's on our silly checklist. The checklist tells me to change the status upon sale. But as we've already figured out, I don't need to follow a checklist because I'm too good for that. So I paid my silly fine. I quickly logged in and changed the status. Now, what is the one point of commonality in all of those failures? Now, no, it's not me. I know you're thinking, well, you are, Mark. I know. That's not the point of commonality. The point of commonality in all those things is this. I forgot. It slipped my mind. I meant well. I'm a good property manager. Now, if any of my team members had forgotten those three things, I would have probably had to have had a little talk with them about the importance of following checklists and why checklists are there so that these kind of things don't happen. Now, this is the benefit of being the boss, is nobody had to get mad at me, or nobody could get really mad at me that I would have to listen to. I couldn't fire myself. I refused to discipline myself for these things. But I will be following the checklist next time if I so determine at that point in time. So, point is this. I don't care how well you think you know your processes. Get them out of your head, because you cannot expect anybody, even yourself, to remember things every single time. Guys, we've got too many moving parts in this business. You need to get everything out of your head, onto checklists, onto paper. Now, if you want to see our checklist, yeah, we've got them on our website. You can buy our top 20 PM forms, and we've got all sorts of downloads on there, some free, some paid. Utilize those. But for goodness sakes, don't trust yourself and don't trust your head, because if it can happen to me, the master of all checklists, it can happen to anybody.